Hi guys, welcome to another lesson. Today we're gonna work on the second video on independence on drum kit. We're gonna see how to be able to listen all the 16 notes and play the various 16 notes on top of double strokes with our feet, and we'll start playing the double strokes in different area of the bars so that we get used to play like regular double strokes or inverted double strokes and so on, starting with the left foot, starting with the right foot, so that we really get to learn how to control this pattern and how to be able to improvise and hear all the 16 notes on top of this. So first of all, if you need to develop the technique for double strokes on your feet, there are various ways of doing this. You can either check other episodes or use the technique that you're already able to use, and once you have that mastered and you're pretty free of playing double strokes on both right and left foot, you can start putting this together. And we can start very slow, controlling this with our legs. So meaning that we use bigger muscles and we play slowly the double strokes. So in this way. So as you can see, I'm using my entire leg to actually play each stroke. I'm not involving my ankle motion too much. But of course, this is good for at first to learn slowly the parts and learn how to, play the accents around the double strokes. But then you want to also be able to speed this up, and so you want to shift the control on the ankles. So let's see, speeding it up, how we shift the control from the bigger muscles to the smaller one. I'll use the slide technique, which is the one that I personally like and prefer to use for double strokes. So let's go. So the more I speed the motion up, the more all the motion goes more on the ankle. So at first, when I play slow, each stroke requires me a full leg motion. So upstroke and downstroke motion, like. So I'll do this motion twice. Instead, when I speed it up, I'll do one leg motion and I'll just work with my ankle to make the two strokes happen. So if you see the leg, slowly it's going to be two upstroke and downstrokes. Instead, faster is going to be only one upstroke and downstroke for two strokes. So this is very important for us because it's going to be a reference on which we're going to play on. So whenever I'm working on independence, I will always want to work on two different type of references. One is the physical reference, so the motions that my bigger muscles are doing while I'm playing this, because it's easier. Like the bigger muscles have a better connection to the brain, and it's easier for me to think of, for example, fast double strokes, thinking only of the big muscles. So to have a good spacing between the notes, I just think, the single motions. So I'll try to do single strokes and then double strokes, and you will see that the leg motion, it's always going to be the same, and that's going to be my main physical reference for where I'm gonna play stuff on top of this. So the leg motion doesn't change, and this is going to be what stays in my mind while I play on top of this. Then the second reference is of course going to be hearing whatever I want to play on top of this, and basically I will have to get to a point where my double strokes are going to be an automation, something that I don't think about anymore, and I can focus only on what I'm gonna do on top of that. A good way of actually working on this is have different sounds. It's going to be maybe a little bit harder at first because you have to get used to, and the different sounds will pull you off a little bit. You will really hear the upbeat and downbeat of every thing that you're playing, and the circles are gonna be a little bit longer, but then it will really put you in a situation where you cannot do mistakes, and it will help you to actually control and understand exactly where you are in the cycles of bars that you're playing on top of this. So let's see exactly how this whole exercise would look like, and then let's break it down and go through each step to get to the point to then control all these 16 notes accent on top of the first double stroke pattern, which is going to be the regular 2 strokes with the right, 2 strokes with the left. Let's start very slowly, and then I'll do another example a little bit faster with the 2 different type of control of my legs. What I'm going to play on top of this with my hands is going to be, first of all, I call this like the alphabet of the accents, which means I will play almost every 16 notes combination possible, going on the first 16 notes, then second 16 notes, third, fourth, then first and second, second, third, third, fourth, fourth, first. Then I'm going to play triplets, then I'm going to play fives, and then sevens, so that I literally start hearing, I wouldn't say all the combinations, but most of the combinations that I could eventually then hear when I want to improvise on top of like this pattern. So I will be able to play all the first accents, second, third, fourth, first and second, and so on, triplets, five, and I will know exactly where I am whenever I'm playing this. I'm not gonna just get lost in what I'm playing. So let's see exactly what I mean, and it's gonna be easier to understand. Okay, so talking about references, what I want to hear whenever I play this, to keep control of what I'm doing while it's happening, I usually focus on, for example, my kick strokes. So I always keep my double kicks strokes in mind, and I always, whenever I feel like I'm losing control, go back and check those strokes, because it's my 1 and 2. So it's easier for me to think of the 1 just by listening to the kick, instead of focusing on the entire thing and not really having any reference. So as we know, the less things we think about, the easier it is to keep control of what's happening. So whenever I have hard times or I'm in a situation where I'm losing control, I go and put my concentration in. On top of this, what I want to hear, it's my accent. I don't think of any other part, any other stroke that I'm playing rather than the accent. So for example, if I want to play the second 16 notes, what I will hear and what I will concentrate on, it's going to be. Then everything else is just going to be like around this. I'm not going to think about this. It's just going to be kind of like an automation or automatic or unconscious to my brain and my thoughts and what I'm listening to. So again, yeah, what I'm going to focus on is going to be, and then whatever accent I'm going to play on top of this. So and then my left foot is just going to work as a consequence of my right foot. So it also becomes easier to improvise and you know, play on top of it, because I always gonna play around that idea that I'm having. So once you have this was just an example with triplet notes. You can then do this with whatever, you know, whatever thing you want to work on. Then let's see now how it works when you apply the same concept, but we shift and we reverse the double strokes. So for example, we're going to play the reverse double stroke starting with our right foot. So in this way, where the one, it's like it's the second stroke of the double stroke with our foot. So it's this will change the whole reference, because we won't think of 1 and 2 anymore, but we will think of 1 4 1, kind of like a shuffle feel, but on 4 4. So instead of triplet. So whatever I'm going to play on top of this, my concentration on the kick is going to be. Okay, so let's try and see an entire cycle of the alphabet on top of this double stroke solution. Okay, so it's going to be the same concept, but applied, like focusing our concentration on 1 4 1 4 1 instead of 1 and 2 1 2 1 2. So of course you will have to practice this, but if you work in the same way and you focus in the same way, it's going to be much easier. So how the best way to control independence is to actually make it simple for your brain to think about it. Okay, it's impossible for us to think of more than one thing at a time. So if I think of my right foot, right hand, left hand, the accent, whatever as like my double strokes, however I'm playing the double strokes and so on, it's just gonna be too much. It's like impossible for me to have the control of that. So make it simple means taking off information. So I just focus on a few things and I make sure that I know exactly that those are working right, and then with practice I will get all the other limbs working behind that. Okay, does this make sense? So then when I play with the left foot leading with the left foot, it's going to be always of course the same concept, but we will have to reverse, like we will have to think of left foot starting, right hand starting on top of that. So we will have to kind of work crisscrossed with the accents and all that stuff. But let's try it and see what happens. Okay, so as I said before, it's basically the same concept, but we will have to play it reverse. So we will have to think of starting with the left foot and playing with the right hand leading on top of the left foot leading. So it's crisscross, but always the same concept. So what I want to focus on is going to be 1-2 of the left foot instead of the 3-4 of the right foot, because if we think of the thinking of the kick in this case will throw us off, because we want to always know where the 1 is and not when 3 is. Even though you can get used to working on keeping the 3 in mind, but it's just gonna, you know, make it complicated. Why do we want to know where the 3 is when everybody's playing on 1, you know? So it's always good to have the 1 as a reference. And then the same thing, of course, playing the double stroke, reverse double stroke with the left foot. So playing 1-4-1 with our left foot. Okay, so again, conceptually, like the steps to have this done would be, first of all, work on, of course, the technique, their double strokes, fit double strokes technique. Once you have that, you put them together and make sure you can play decently and fluently without any problems. Then you start playing single strokes on top of that and start working with the accent. Once you have that, you can start reversing the double strokes. So starting, you know, with reversing the right foot. So it's going to be right, left, right, left, right, right, left, left, right, right. And then working on with the left foot lead. So left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right. And then reverse left foot lead. So left, right, right, left, left, right, right. And you play always the same, all the alphabet on top of this. that you will find in the score of the exercise. So another very important thing is balance. Okay, so once you have all this and you can play it slowly, you will just not need to speed it up. The more you speed it up, the more you will shift all the motions from leg motions to ankle motions, and balance will be a big thing. So just make sure, as usual, that you can actually keep a decent balance on the double strokes, and you don't lean in front, having a shuffle kind of feel while you're playing. Like, you have to have good even notes and have the perfect control of whatever it's happening. You can then, as I was doing now, change the type of sound that you want to play. So having a kick on the right foot and a snare on the left foot, or a hi-hat, or another clave, or whatever you guys want. Yeah, and then you focus on those few things that will allow you to work on top of this, and then you improvise, and you just see, you know, how far you can go with this, and have fun, be creative, but also just make it hard so that you raise the bar of what you can play, because this, at the end of the day, it's one of the main purposes of this exercise, is just raising the bar and knowing how, like, to play new things and make it always harder and harder and harder, and keep control of it, so that then when you have to improvise or write music, you don't have that limit, you know, that coordination and independent limit in your hands, but you're able to play you know, many more things that you were used to weeks before, or before doing this kind of exercise. Okay, so have a good one, have a good practice, and I'll see you next time.